We're back now, and this morning on Today investigates a deadly mistake that is made far too often. Children left in cars on extremely hot days. Jeff Rawson has uncovered information on this, and he joins us this morning. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Matt. Good morning to you. You know, as parents, we've heard about these warnings for years. Never leave your child alone in a car. It seems obvious, but yet it keeps on happening, especially during heat waves like much of the country is seeing now. In fact, so far this year, a record number of children have already died compared to the first 6 months of any other year in history. There is inexpensive, simple technology out there right now to help prevent these accidents, save these kids' lives. So the question is, why aren't automakers using it, and why isn't the government doing more? Any parent would swear they'd never do it. Forget their baby in a steaming hot car.
A 2-year-old girl was left to die in a scorching hot minivan.
But every summer, new case after new case.
By the time her father realized she was still there in the car, it was too late to save her life.
Let's say it's an 85-degree day outside. How long does it take for a child to die sitting in a car?
A child can die in as little as 15 minutes.
Safety advocate Jeanette Fennell is leading the charge for tough new standards. She says since the government required children to sit in rear-facing car seats in the back, hot car deaths have spiked 800%.
When the babies are rear-facing, that car seat doesn't look any different if it's empty or if it's occupied.
And for a tired, overworked parent, that small mistake can mean disaster.
My world was shattering right there on the asphalt.
Stephanie is a working mom who had 2 little kids, 6-year-old Mackenzie and 5-month-old Gannon. One day last summer, after an all-nighter breastfeeding Gannon, Stephanie loaded the kids in the car. She was exhausted driving them to daycare on the way to work. Stephanie dropped her older one off, no problem, and was supposed to drop Gannon off next.
My mind went on autopilot, and I thought I dropped Gannon off. I saw it. I saw the memory of me dropping Gannon off. And in reality, I never dropped him off. My brain failed me. It fell back on my old routine of going to work.
Stephanie drove to her office, locked the car, and went inside, oblivious to reality that Gannon was still sleeping in the back seat.
You're at work all day for 8.5 hours. He's in the car. You come back out to the car, and what did you see?
I got in my car and I put my purse down, and when I looked back, I saw Gannon in the rearview mirror.
Was he moving?
Her 5-month-old baby was gone.
A lot of parents watching this right now, I'm sure, feel awful for you, but also say this would never happen to me. I would never forget my child in a car like you did. What do you say to them?
That they're being a little too self-assured. I was educated. I knew about parents leaving their kids in the car.
And yet it still happened.
And yet it still happened.
Still, the government says education is the answer, not technology, even as babies continue to die. In most cars, there are warnings for leaving your keys in the ignition, if you leave the headlights on, but there are no warnings about a child in the car.
So what are we saying? Is it more important that we don't have a dead car battery than a dead baby?
Car makers have developed warning systems that would sound an alarm if you left your baby in the car seat. Nearly 10 years ago, GM showed off a radar sensor that could detect a breathing infant in the back seat. GM never sold it, saying the system was not reliable enough.
10 unique sensors.
Volvo created a similar system, but never sold it for liability reasons. Now, even NASA has a solution. Engineers who work on the space shuttle have developed a car seat sensor that detects a baby's weight and will sound a keychain alarm if you walk away. Chris Edwards is one of the inventors.
This sensor, you basically just place it under the cushion in the car seat, right under the baby's bottom, and that's all you do.
I'm a dad and was curious if it really worked, so I recruited my 5-month-old daughter, Sloan, to sit in. So I'm a forgetful parent. I left my daughter in the car. I'm going to close the door, by the way. The air conditioning's on for this demonstration, don't worry. How does this work?
So all you have to do is walk away from the car and the alarm will go off.
How far do I have to walk?
About 50 feet, 30 to 50 feet, and it'll
go off.
And
this keychain alarm should go off?
It'll go off.
We kept walking, and within 30 seconds... There it goes.
There it goes.
That didn't take long at all.
Let you know she's still in there.
All right, so we're close enough to the car where we're still good.
Right.
So let's go back and get my daughter. In a real-life situation, this could have saved her life. So how much would this be if it were installed in vehicles?
Less than $50.
Is that technology ready to go into cars right now?
It's ready to go right now.
And NASA's not alone. There are similar systems on the market right now. So why hasn't the government required them in cars? We came here to Washington for answers, but the Department of Transportation declined our multiple requests for an interview. And the group representing the automakers wouldn't speak on camera either. Instead, NHTSA, a division of the Department of Transportation, sent us this email saying it's looking into ways to keep children from suffering this horrible fate. In the meantime, we continue to urge parents, caregivers, and the public to remain vigilant. And the automakers group sent us this statement: caregiver supervision will always be the most effective way to protect children from the dangers of an unattended vehicle.
They don't want to add, the technology it would take to save these lives. Some would say, not enough kids die. We work on bigger problems.
But for the parents who've lost kids in hot cars, there is no bigger problem.
Do you feel like a warning system in the car would have saved your son?
I know that. It would have brought me out of whatever I was in. There's no doubt that it would have saved his life.
In Florida, where Stephanie lived, leaving her child alone in a car, whether on a cold day or a hot day, by accident or on purpose, is a crime in that state with a mandatory punishment. So she's now serving a 5-year probation sentence. And Matt, there's actually, the experts say, something you can do at home right now, starting right now, today, if you want, even without technology. Your briefcase, anything you use, your cell phone, instead of putting it in the front seat with you, put it in the back seat when you have a child. That way, before you leave the car and lock the door, you have to come back here to get your briefcase and see the child.
Why hasn't someone in Congress proposed legislation that would require that technology you just talked about?
Yeah, it's a good question. The safety experts are working on that. In fact, they're trying to get language into a new transportation bill next year. In fact, they say, look, there are airbag standards. Yeah. 5 times more kids die sitting in hot cars than they do from airbags. And there are regulations for that, but not this.
Compelling report, Jeff. Thank you very much. We're going to be back right after this.